Let's go to Silicon Valley, okay? Bill Gates, Mark Zuckerberg, Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk. How did they become billionaires? Guys, I don't think they're smarter than us. In fact, I don't think they're that smart, okay? Steve Jobs is a smart guy. I will say Steve Jobs is a really smart guy, but these other guys are pretty normal guys. How do they become billionaires? All right, so Silicon Valley. People say that Silicon Valley is a hotbed of innovation. That is complete and utter nonsense. The hotbed of innovation is the American military because they spent billions of dollars on innovation, okay? So these are computers that they developed for war purposes, okay? For the nuclear bomb, to fight World War II, to fight the Cold War. They spent billions of dollars to develop this technology. And then what happened was this technology became smaller and smaller, and so much smaller that Steve Wozniak was able to take this technology and create an own personal computer. Now this is kind of strange because this R&D was funded by the American government. How does one guy, Steve Wozniak, how was he able to take all this knowledge and then go and make his own computer? What did the American military let him? In fact, what's really strange is that while Steve Wozniak was building his own computer, which will become the Apple computer, he was working for Hewlett-Packard. In other words, everything he did should have been the IP of Hewlett-Packard. And in fact, Steve Wozniak said to his boss, listen, you guys pay me, you guys train me. If you want this PC that I'm going to create, I'm happy to give it to you. And Hewlett-Packard said to him, no, keep it for yourself. That's really strange, guys. What corporation is so generous? Why would they do that? Well, there are three good reasons, okay? The first reason is that if the American military were to promote personal computers, every American in the world would say, screw you, okay? You guys are the military. You guys are responsible for the Vietnam War. You guys are responsible for millions of deaths around the world. Why would I take a computer from you knowing that it's from the military? You're gonna use a computer to spy on me, man. You're gonna use this computer to turn me into a robot. There's no way I'm gonna touch this computer. But it's coming from Steve Jobs. That's different, right? Oh, Steve Jobs, he's a visionary. He's messianic. Of course I'll buy this personal computer from Steve Jobs, okay? Second is, at this time in history, America is at war with the Soviet Union, okay? Which system is better? Communism or capitalism? And so if you said that, okay, we're the government and we spent billions of dollars to build this technology, that proves that communism is better, right? But if it's like, no, it's these guys working by themselves in Silicon Valley in the garage, they come up with these ideas for themselves, that proves capitalism is better, okay? That proves entrepreneurship is better. And the last reason, and this is the most important, is if the US government built this knowledge, all right, it belongs to American people. So how do you monetize public knowledge? Well, you create private companies controlled by secret societies. That makes perfect sense, right? And we can now understand all these guys, Bill Gates, Elon Musk, they're front people. They're just poster boys. They're not really in command. It's these societies that's really in control, okay? Sorry. All right, another example is Google. So the American military spent billions of dollars, trillions of dollars of taxpayer money to build this fiber optic network, which is the base of the internet, okay? Without this fiber optic network, you couldn't have the internet. And then these two guys in their 20s took over this network and created Google. It's the same thing as, the government spends billions of dollars building a highway, okay? And then you come along and say, I'm gonna build a toll booth. Same thing. Why were they allowed to do that? But not only that, but now they're slowly building their own underwater fiber optic network. So they're basically privatizing this network created by the American military. Yes, I understand they're spending their own money to build this network, but it's the American military that spent taxpayer money to do the R&D for all this, okay? That's where the real value is. Mark Zuckerberg, guys. Look, he's not that smart, okay? And look, the other thing is, he was 19 years old, he stole this idea from his Harvard classmates, and then he got billions of dollars from venture capitalists to start Facebook. Why did he get this money? Facebook is not a great idea, right? Social media, great, but I mean, like, I could also start a social media company. You could start a social media company. The other thing is, like, Yahoo at one point offered this guy $1 billion to buy Facebook. We'll give you $1 billion. That's a lot of money, right? You would have taken it, I would have taken it. But Mark Zuckerberg's like, nah, I wouldn't know what to do with the money. That's retarded. Why did you start Facebook in the first place but to make money? Okay? So you have these 3 questions. First of all, why are these people giving him money? He's just a 19-year-old guy. He's a Harvard dropout. That's all he is. No experience, nothing. Second question is, if you're someone who's that young and you succeed so much, you would suffer from hubris, from ego. You make a lot of mistakes, right? The guy's never failed in his life. The third thing, of course, is I understand why Amazon, Google, and Apple are successful, okay? Apple has Steve Jobs. Google controls the world search. Amazon controls buying things, right? What does Facebook do? It doesn't do anything, right? So how can we explain why Mark Zuckerberg is so successful? Well, there's actually an explanation. This, guys, okay? It's all part of it's possible, okay? I'm not saying it is true, but it's all part of the grand conspiracy to create an AI surveillance state, which is what Pax Judaica is. This guy, okay?
They look the same.
They look exactly the same. They are the same. They look like clones of each other. No personality, no ideas of their own. They're just robots. How did they become so successful? Right? And OpenAI, guess what, guys? Makes no money, but at the same time, they get trillions of dollars from investors to build data centers. Okay? And these data centers allow you to make really nice pictures and videos online that do nothing, okay? Why is all this money being spent except one day to create a surveillance state, okay? That's what makes sense. The idea that these things exist so that you can play on the computer makes no sense. But these things exist in order to one day have complete control over what you do, what you think, and how you behave. That makes sense now, okay? Pax Judaica. All right, Elon Musk, okay? I understand millions of people worship this guy. I don't know how this guy makes money, okay? If you look at Tesla and Facebook, and you came in and says, listen, there are these 2 companies, Facebook and Tesla, would you invest in them? I'd be like, no! Facebook, there's no business model here. I don't understand why people need social media. I don't understand how Mark Zuckerberg, how he's gonna make money in the future. Elon Musk, he gets all his money from government subsidies. Tesla doesn't make any money, man. And the guy's a moron. Okay? But Neuralink, okay? Why is he proposing Neuralink? It's part of transhumanism, right?